Um, welcome to everybody. We've organised this webinar today, particularly for members who are trying to ramp up their 2022 recruitment and training programs. And we think that the best way to do that is by being connected with local colleges and all the resources that have been developed to help attract new people into the industry. We've got 4 excellent speakers today on our agenda. We've got Christian Warden, Director of Talentview Construction. This is an organisation that's been specifically created to connect employers like TRA members with potential apprentices and recruits, mainly for entry-level jobs into construction. Many of these will obviously be coming from your local construction colleges, and Christian will be explaining the work that he and his colleagues do to link these 3 groups together: the employers, the colleges, and the potential candidates. Welcome, Christian. Nice to see you. Our second speaker is Liz Mail, who I'm sure you know provides PR and marketing support to the TRA and its members. Lizzie's joining us today to provide members with a bit of a refresher on the Careers in Timber Engineering campaign. TRA launched this campaign last year with the principal aim to provide members with an easily accessible set of resources to help you connect with local colleges and local schools. These resources provide a platform to let you explain what the timber engineering sector is about, how your company fits into the bigger picture, and what benefits careers in timber engineering, starting with your company, can provide. So welcome to Liz. Thank you. Our third speaker today is Richard George, who you all know from Mitek, who leads the TRA training group. Richard will be formally launching the new designer development program. He's going to explain some of the concepts behind the program and the work which TRA training group has undertaken to get this new program up and running. As part of Richard's presentation, he will be joined out by our 4th speaker, who is Jenni Bunny from ETS Trusses, who are obviously a valued TRA fabricator member. Jenni is one of the first candidates to start the designer development program, and she's joining us today to talk about some of her experiences with the content that we've developed. So welcome to Richard and Jenni as well. Before I introduce Christian as our first speaker, I just wanted to spend a few moments looking at the bigger picture that is not only facing TRA members, but is facing the timber engineering sector as a whole, the whole construction sector, and it's now emerging so many other employment sectors in the UK as well. So with the increasing difficulties in attracting people across all of these sectors, TRA have put on today's event with the specific aim to provide practical help to members in looking to address their skills shortages in our part of the industry, and give some members information on some of the resources that are available. We'll also provide some tips on how you can forge links with some of your local education providers, who in most cases will be the main source of trainee designers, production and sales staff for the future. It does not take much background research to see the scale of the problem that we're facing. A situation which before the Brexit vote in 2016 was pretty dire in terms of the distorted age profile that the construction industry faces. But since then, thanks to the increasing loss of European construction workers, this issue has now become a day-to-day matter facing most construction companies and their supply chains not being able to get enough recruits and trainees to fill positions in their companies. Truss Rafter fabricators are a classic example where a predominantly ageing workforce has been predicted to impact the performance of not only the sector as a whole, but the individual fabricator members. And this topic has been raised again and again at TRA meetings in the past. The only way forward, as members see it, is to create a new and more consistent pipeline of future employees in order to fulfill the essential roles, particularly those of roof and floor designers. This is a big part of what the recent TRA work has really been about. Pre-pandemic, recruitment was obviously already proving difficult for many TRA members. However, the COVID pandemic has shown that actually there are more flexible ways of working, and it's possible that people can work from home more. And we've seen all three systems working very hard to provide their fabricators with the software to support truss designers working at home or that are in locations that are remote from the manufacturing facilities that they use. For the future, this obviously potentially provides a greater pool of designers because a company can draw from geographically a wider area. But it also raises the question about how the quality of roof truss and floor design can be maintained and how designers can continue to add value to the process of design. These questions are really at the root of the new designer development program, which Richard will talk about in more detail later in the meeting. But what I will emphasise for now is that the new program is not just about technical training. The program that we've been developing is very much about the commercial aspects of roof truss and floor design. That eloquent balance which all members try to achieve between the quantity of material required, the ease of manufacturing the trusses, the simplicity of installation, and the opportunity of adding value in such a way that a contractor will see the benefit of developing a long-term relationship with a particular fabricator company, something which our designer workforce seems to be currently very good at doing. In this sense, the timber engineering sector is very fortunate in that we have a well-skilled and highly trained workforce that's very much up to the job of using the latest technology to deliver highly efficient and cost-effective roof designs. This means that, unlike some other sectors, our main issue is not a skills gap. It's a classic skills shortage where vacancies are increasingly harder and harder to fulfill. And where potential candidates are available, their qualifications, skills and experience are less aligned with our sector's needs. So it's only by having a very specific set of training principles and materials that we see the opportunity of being able to carry the principle of adding value through to the next generation of designers. And this is where the roots of the designer development program lie. But as I said, I'll let Richard talk about that a little bit later. However, it's of little use having an excellent designer training program in place unless you can demonstrate to potential employees that timber engineering is a worthwhile and rewarding sector in which to start and hopefully carry through their careers. But it's not just about designers, it's also about production, sales and management staff. We need the whole team to carry on our businesses and compete. In order to get the message across that timber engineering is a worthwhile and rewarding sector, TRA have developed the materials for the Careers in Timber Engineering campaign. And that's what Liz is going to be explaining shortly. But before the designer training program or the positive messages about careers in the timber engineering sector, TRA members need to locate and try to understand the current construction recruitment landscape in order to target an audience of potential employees with the aim to get out their recruitment messages. And we think this is where Talentview has a significant role to play. So without further ado, I'll hand over to Christian Warden, Director of Talentview. Christian, we didn't get the chance to ask you before. Do you want me to put your slides up, or are you going to present them yourself?
I'm more than happy to share my screen if that would be okay.
That would be great. Thank you.
Great. Well, thank you, Nick, and that was very interesting listening to that, and hopefully what I've got to share with you today will help in some small way or some large way, if possible. As was said, I'm Christian Warden. I'm Director of Talentview Construction, but I'm Director of Engagement for Winchester Consulting, which is the overarching organisation as well, which looks after Talentview Construction. And we have a construction talent retention scheme, which I'll go talk about as well as looking at other sectors. I would also like to point out, and probably he can wave, Clive Jennings, who is on the call today, who is our engagement manager. And what I would say prior to me doing the presentation is that please contact myself or Clive outside of this should you want any support or any further information. What we are trying to do is ensure that it works for you. This platform works for you and for yourselves as an organisation, and any feedback will be greatly received. So without further ado, I'll try and share my screen. That's okay. Can anyone see that? Yeah, thumbs up, great. Talentview Construction, it says a place for talented people to find first jobs, apprenticeship, graduate roles and work experience in construction. It's that and more. As we go through the presentation, you'll see what we're trying to do is ensure that we get the right people in the right place at the right time. And it's looking at all aspects of construction. So it's not just the typical biblical skills, it's a wider breadth of construction skills, ranging right from first leaving school or even work experience, right to postgraduate activity. So with the full breadth of construction. It's an electronic platform. It's a web-based platform that, I will say this now, it's free for everyone within the construction sector. Long may that continue, and hopefully with your support it will be. There are no charges, no ads, and there's no hassle within it. What it does, it says there, it does what it says on the tin. It matches great talent with great employers. Now that talent can be from schools, it can be from individuals, it can be from colleges, it can be from companies, and those people are already based within the sector. And the organizations can be those aforementioned. So they can be companies, or they can be colleges, or they can be trade associations, etc. Now, what we aren't, and I know there was a note went around, we're not a recruitment organization. This is a platform that supports the recruitment of individuals. What we do, we help enable organizations and companies to find that talent and have that interaction with that individual directly. It's not for us to intervene or try and coerce anyone into any position. What we want to do is genuinely support the sectors as best we can. We're working with Department for Business, Energy and Industrial Strategy, otherwise known as BEIS, National Apprenticeship Service, you'll see the logo there. We're working with CITB, many of you may know, and their regional teams. The Construction Leadership Council are also heavily involved, and Go Construct, which is part of CITB, which you may know about, and focuses on the career activity. What is Talentview Construction? Well, Talentview Construction, as I've said, it's a web-based platform. So you can use it on a laptop, you can use it on an iPad, you can use it on your phone, smartphone. It's designed to be as flexible and as portable as possible. It's supposed to not be onerous. not supposed to, it isn't onerous, and it certainly is looking to make life easier for those individuals in a workplace than it is to be, as I said, onerous. And with that, what we're trying to do is enable businesses and organizations to find the skills and expertise they need, but also wider than that, we're hoping that we can support the sector in their growth as well, and look to the next 3 to 5 years of skills growth, whether that be in traditional skills, digital skills, graduate skills, high level skills, etc. It also does look to reduce the loss of valuable skills within the sector. And what that comes about is because when we started this program, we were told that there would be a huge loss of skill within the construction sector. And particularly, we were looking at some of the more traditional skills leaving the sector. That didn't happen at the start of lockdown. Instead, what we found was companies and organizations wanted to grow their skill base over the next 3 to 5 years, and they wanted to focus on that talent. And what this does is look at that and help increase that skill level across the board. It allows individuals to showcase their talent. So what it does, they can place a CV, but they can also write, as you'll see when we go through the platform, they can write a bit about themselves, and they can really try and put themselves at the front of the shop, basically. It looks at permanent contract work. It also looks at apprenticeships. It looks at traineeships. It looks at work experience. It can look at taster opportunities. It looks at the full breadth of activity within the construction sector. And as I said, it's free for everyone. I've told you it's supported by Leadership Council, CITD Bays, etc. So I won't repeat myself on that. Whilst we are looking at early careers, you'll see on the right here, we're looking at students and early careers, and that is what Talentview Construction is. We also have the construction TRS, which is the talent retention scheme, which looks at the more experienced person within the industry. So they're people who may be looking to look for new careers. They may be looking for new jobs. They may be a position of risk within that organization. So CTRS, as it is called, looks at those experienced candidates. Now, why this screen is here is because the Talentview Construction platform and the CLC Construction CRS talk to each other. They share data, and if you register on one, you can see data from the other. So what we're trying to do is encourage migration of skill, the opportunity, greater visibility of opportunity, and organizations have a real clarity of what's available within the totality of the sector. They share all data links, and what you can do as an individual or a company, you determine what you want to share. So you own that interaction with the platform. This is how it looks. It's live now. It went live in September, and those numbers at the bottom have increased significantly, which we can go on to. But this is how it looks. It's really quite simple to use. It's not a difficult platform to understand. It's something that's designed to be very simple. As I said, you can use it on your phone, and it's supposed to be very easy to understand if you are a school leaver or if you are a postgraduate person. Now, at the moment, we have well over 1,000 organizations in place. It says 839 companies there. We now have, I think the last count is 1,138 organizations registered on the platform, and we have well over 1,000 vacancies. And to date, we've had well over 25,000 vacancies on the platform. It works. It's looking to support the sector, and what we're doing going forward is talking to people like yourself to try and get a greater impact as well, to try and share this message. Where we are getting registration at the moment, we are looking at individuals. So we're looking at individuals from universities, from colleges, or Go Construct. They're being sent over. And what we're working with those people is to look at apprenticeship opportunities, whether that be now. Some people might be saying that they're interested in apprenticeships. Some people might be actively looking for apprenticeships. Some people might be in college in their second year and want something. But we're looking for apprenticeship opportunities. That's by far at the moment our biggest growth area and our biggest interest area. We're looking at graduate opportunities with those individuals. So some of them may be in university already. Some of them may be in sixth form. Some of them may be in other areas and looking to university or looking for a graduate position. That's on here. We're looking for placements and internships, and we're working with companies increasingly to offer those. And some of you may have heard of T levels as well. So technical level qualifications within construction, which are really, I mean, similar age range to A levels, and looking at a technical level qualification within construction, which will direct them directly into a graduate opportunity or an apprenticeship. We're increasingly having more taster opportunities and work experience, and we've got traineeships on board now. Now, organizations that we have on board typically are companies, trade associations, professional institutions, and supporting bodies, and they are all looking for those individuals that we've said from those areas. So we're getting as I said, the largest number of opportunities are from apprenticeships, but we do now have something in all of those except T levels on the system. You'll see over here to your right, we have an interface and link with the National Apprenticeship Service. That National Apprenticeship Service, everything within construction, within the National Apprenticeship Service, is on this platform. And we have an agreement with them that we pull that information through. What we are doing at the moment is trying to reciprocate that so that everything we have from organization can go onto that platform as well. But we have all of that information. We also have a link with Go Construct as well. So if you want information, advice and guidance on a career, you can then click on, which is on the next slide, you can click on the Go Construct information on their platform, and it will bring you through to Talentview Construction. And as if by magic, this appears. So we've got, if you were looking, for instance, for CAD operative within construction, you could look at what is a CAD operative, what do they do, how much do they earn, what does the job look like. But then if you click the box, find an apprenticeship or a job, it would take you across to Talentview Construction. And in that instance, it takes you, you can see there, they are live jobs. So that would be from the apprenticeship service or an organization telling you that you could get those jobs. Now at that point, that individual can click directly on that to find out more information. They can then talk directly to the company or the college or the training provider and ensure that process is going forward. And they can have a discussion, and it might be that they just want some further information. It might be that the organization then say, well, we're interested in you, we'd like a CV, and that conversation can then take place. And that's how it is. It's not something that we get involved in at that point. It is for those two organization individual to marry up. A really simple registration process. If you're an individual, what you do, you go on, probably take about 5-10 minutes to do this. You set up your profile page, you register, you select where you want to work, whether that be England or whether it be Scotland, Wales, any of the devolved administrations, whether it be at a county level, whether you want it at a regional level. You can also check whether you, or put what sectors you want and specific areas of construction that you want to work in. You can then set up alerts for that and opportunities, and then you can get information, advice and guidance as we're going along. Now then, as an individual, you can, it says employers there, but you can talk to employers directly, or you can talk to colleges or training providers or supporting organizations. And what we're typically getting, opportunities for those at the moment, we're getting a lot from construction employers, increasingly getting them from FE and HE, but we're going through National Apprenticeship Service and social media as well. Once they sign up for the platform, what you will see, they all have a dashboard, and that dashboard is something that individual owns. So they will be able to keep control of where their applications are. They can switch on interest alerts or change them as they so wish. They can have favorites and they can have saved searches throughout the program. The platform automatically recommends jobs to them or opportunities to them based on that interest alert or that notification that they have set up. They can also look at what they viewed and how they're progressing within that area. If they wanted further information, we do have the links to Go Construct, information, advice and guidance, and wider Construction Leadership Council too. If you are an employer or an organisation, and that organisation isn't just employers, it can be, as I said, FE colleges, training providers, it can be trade associations. They would do the same. They set up a profile page. They can post their vacancies at that point, again, stipulating where that is and whereabouts that, whether it be region, county, England, devolved administration, etc., or indeed international. They can search on the platform for any candidates. They can also contact those candidates directly, and they can make contact with any, if they're an employer, make contact with schools, colleges, or training provider. But if they're a college, they could keep that link. And this is what I want to emphasize at the moment. If you are a college or a training provider or a trade association and you already have links to employers and students, that stays with you. So that there's basically that no one can have visibility of your students. If you are a college, you would be working with that or provider, you would be working with employers, and you would grow your employer base and your contact base. It's not about sharing students or anything of that nature. But we're typically getting candidates from FE colleges, universities, schools, Go Construct, the experience hubs from CITB, social media, and NUS. Very similar organizations have sight of all of the applications that have come in. They can set their alerts. They can have their favorites and saved searches, but they can also, again, get alerts of individuals that have registered on the system. So daily we get people registering on the system. Now, if that met the criteria of your opportunity, then they would automatically come through to you. You can also look at what you last viewed and look at their CVs and manage that process. And again, very similar to an individual, you can have the information, advice and guidance from Construction Leadership Council if you so wish. At the moment, we've got, they're just a handful of, well, more than a handful of colleges. We're working with the Association of Colleges, and there's some of the colleges and training providers that we have on board at the moment, but we're looking to widen that. Clive is there, and his daily remit at the moment is talking to as many training providers and colleges as possible, because we really do think that that's going to make the difference. They are the conduit between companies and individuals, and they can make this work. But what we want to do, and I've got to emphasize this, it has to be meaningful and impactful for that provider as well, that provider or college. So that's what we're working on at the moment. We also have universities, higher education involved as well, and that's increasing by the day as well. And that's typically focused on, you imagine, on graduate activity. Now, what I would like you to do is, if possible, sign up, create a profile, introduce us to any of your partners, question us as much as you like, throw things in, help us make it work for you. Also, Liz is on the call, so I won't steal her thunder, but get involved in PR, marketing, and any case studies as you go forward. And then follow us, have a look around, even before you register, have a look around at all the things talking about us and see if it works for you. and then use the promotional assets that we have within the communications toolkit, which Liz will talk about. And then, thank you. The bit on the right there is how it looks on a mobile phone. So it's really easy, as I said, really easy to use, really quite simple to register, and I'd urge you to do so. And with that, I'm more than happy to answer any questions.
That's great. Thank you very much indeed, Christian. We didn't get any questions through the chat, but if anybody like to raise a question, please turn on your mic or raise your hand, and I'll turn your mic on for you. And please direct them towards Christian or to Clive, I presume. So, okay. Well, perhaps we'll come back. Yeah. Okay. So we haven't got any specific questions, Christian, but perhaps that talks about the quality of your presentation more than anything else. So,
well, I hope so. But please, like I said, please. Afterwards, come and talk to us, come and ask anything. If you have any queries, we will support, and we're keen for you to register on the platform and get using it to support you and the sector.
That's great, and certainly TRA will be registered on Talentview, so that will give people the opportunity to get information from us.
Great.
Okay, so let's move on then to our next presentation, which is from Liz. So over to you, Liz.
Thank you, Nick, and good morning, everybody. Good to see you all together. Thank you for that, Christian. I think Talentview Construction is a really interesting opportunity because there hasn't been anywhere really which has allowed, particularly for sort of entry-level jobs, apprenticeships and traineeships, there hasn't really been anywhere that has allowed employers and colleges and individual students or new entrants to come together. So it's been very much up to employers to do a lot of the running around, and for colleges to try and find local employers to place their students, and it's been very fragmented, but this is good to have a government-backed scheme which is free for everyone to use. I think what I wanted to share with you were some of the resources then that are available to TRA members. If you are going to run a recruitment campaign, if you want to make use of TVC, or indeed, do your own outreach to schools and colleges. I don't know how many of you are aware, forgive me if I'm repeating stuff that you already know, but there is a campaign called Careers in Timber Engineering set up by the TRA last year, and there are a whole load of resources that I wanted to share with you. So I'm going to quickly take you through that kit so that you can see what's available. I also, if I may, like to share with you some interesting new research that's starting to come out, very much in the light of the sort of post-COVID business environment. Things that I find very useful to understand as an employer myself, but actually I will pass on to construction employers as well, and timber engineering employers, because the landscape has fundamentally changed in terms of recruiting now. It's very much a candidates market, as I'm sure you'll be aware. So what can we learn from the new research that's out covering that? So that's what I'd like to talk to you about today. If I may, I will share my screen and take you through in time-honoured tradition. Hopefully that's visible. Yes, thumbs up. Thanks, Nick. Thank you. So, as I said, there's a campaign called Careers in Timber Engineering that we launched for the TRA last year. It's still ongoing. It's something we want to keep building on and definitely develop this year. This is the toolkit. It's an online toolkit. I can demo it for you in a moment if you're interested, but this basically is an online link only available to TRA members, with lots of materials and content, including 2 fabulous new videos, one of which has both an Irish version and a UK version, talking about the benefits of careers in timber engineering. There's also a PowerPoint presentation and a draft script. So that's available to you if you wanted to go and do a presentation to a school, online or face-to-face, and please God, things will open up a bit this year and we can get out there and start making those relationships work again. There's a downloadable leaflet about careers in timber engineering, again, a version for UK and for Ireland, and you can put your own logo on that and use that content. We've done a whole load of social media graphics and little animated posts and sample text and all that sort of thing. You just need to cut and paste it and pop it into your Twitter or Instagram or LinkedIn accounts, again, to help get out the benefits of careers in timber engineering. And we're really looking to keep adding to these resources. As I said earlier, it is tailored for both regions. And I think because we've got this sort of toolkit, and we also know now specifically through Christian and his colleagues have told us which are the construction colleges in the UK that TVC is working really closely with. We've done a little bit of mapping work this end to say, okay, out of all of those colleges, which are the ones where we think there's the most TRA membership within that sort of catchment area. And I would like to propose that we work closely with TVC and with the colleges that you're engaging with, Christian and Clive, and see if we can help TRA members establish dialogue with their local construction college. So we can already see that the Cambridge Regional College, City College, Norwich, we've got a cluster around Leicester, obviously, and West Midlands, and York and Bedford College Group. There's a few of these really jump out at us because we can see there's a concentration of TRA member companies around those areas. So that would be really interesting to see how we could work together on approaching those colleges. And TRA members may be able to use this resource use these resources and do their presentations. If I let me try and click through to this careers page, see if this works. Can you still see my screen with that? Yeah. So this is what it looks like. This is the toolkit for you. So these are the campaign videos. I won't click on them now and play them for you, but they're great, really good. And I should say it's not just about design or manufacture roles. It also covers off the commercial side on sales and management of business. So it's trying to look at careers in the round. And a little video here, a great video actually, which talks about the whole journey from the very first design stage to the point where we're talking about construction of homes and truss rafters and a metal web joist being used in that construction. As I said, there's a PowerPoint presentation available with a script. And these are some of the social media posts, animated posts for LinkedIn. I won't click on the link, but they're fantastic little animated posts. And these are the leaflets, which talks about the challenges available to people. So there's a housing challenge, there's a sustainability challenge, a design challenge, and a manufacturing challenge. And these are leaflets for candidates, potential students, candidates, which say, which challenge are you up for? Well, how could you see your career contributing? So please do use that content. And there's a big thing at the bottom there, which says anything else you need, please let us know. As I said, we do want to keep continuing to build on those resources. So far, we can see how many people have looked at that toolkit. When we launched it in April last year, we had a very big spike. It's had a few uses since, and a little flurry at the start of the year, which doesn't surprise me because January is a big recruitment month. Had 211 people accessing the kit so far and using the resources. So I hope we will see another spike, and we'll keep track on how this is being used and keep you in touch with, through the TRA newsletter, keep you in touch with when additional resources become available. But if I may, I'm moving on slightly to something different, which is the results of some really interesting research which has come out recently. There's a study that's been done by the Chartered Institute of Building, talking to young people, well, we say young, I would consider them young, under 40s, under 40s in construction, the millennials as they're called. So it's a really interesting piece of work looking at younger people who've actually come into the industry and their views of construction and why it's attractive to them and careers for them. But also I was going to give you a little sneak preview of some research that I've seen from the CITB, which talks about recruitment techniques in the sort of post-pandemic era. And I was just going to share with you a few tips that I've taken out of this research, if I may. So the first piece from the CIOB survey, they interviewed just under 10,000, about 9,500 under 39s in August 2020, actually it was, and they asked them how many people would promote the industry, how many people would perhaps not recommend it. So it's using the Net Promoter Score methodology that many businesses use. If you're not familiar with Net Promoter Score, it's really interesting. Just Google it, have a look. And the Net Promoter Score is 27% at the moment of under 39s currently working in a vast range of roles in construction. This is very broad. It's not just muddy boot jobs. This is not just traditional construction. It does go into sort of manufacturing and offsite as well. 27% is a bit meh, you know. Anything over 0 is considered good because it obviously means that more people are prepared to promote, you know, would recommend a career in construction than wouldn't. But to be honest, most businesses, if they got a score of 27%, they'd be very, very worried. You're really looking at getting above 50. 50 is considered excellent. Anything over 70% is considered world class. So to be at 27% is a bit, yeah, it's sort of not very good, really. And it does mean that 43% of people who currently work consider themselves promote. They would recommend a career, but 57% are a bit on the fence, or in some cases actively wouldn't. So they asked the people who were in that 57%, what would it take for you to promote careers in construction to your friends and to your colleagues or to the next generation? And these are some of the things that people talked about. Now, the inevitable ones around, of course, people want better salaries and they want security and stability. But what I thought was really, what came out very, very loud and clear was about a change in culture. There's a perception, and it won't surprise any of us, that there's a perception that construction is very macho culture, that it's perhaps not as diverse as it should be, not as inclusive, that the behaviours in construction are not always as they should be. So a real sense that if we could do much more to promote diversity and inclusion, that would be very important. I thought what was also interesting, a lot of interest in technology, and this one about more high quality training. And this, I think, leads perfectly to what Richard will be talking about later on today. So that gave us a sort of initial instinct about, so this is actual experience of people who are currently working in the sector right now. What would it take for them to promote this as a good sector to work in for others? The other research I wanted to show you was what came out of CITB. I don't even think it's actually published yet, so I hope I'm not breaking any rules, but I wanted to sort of show you a little sneak preview of what we've seen in this research. And it looks at how do we go about recruitment post-pandemic. And I'll cut straight to the chase. These are recommendations. In terms of recruitment, the most important communication channels, and this is based on research amongst young people who are not in construction and also those who have recently joined. So good insider and outsider perspective. Most important comms channels are basically website-based inquiries, local employer websites. So your website, what it says about careers in timber engineering, this really, really matters. This is the #1 communications channel. Then it's social media. Of course, it's their personal networks and connections, and actually teachers. And that doesn't mean careers advisors. That means just your normal run-of-the-mill teachers. So this gives us a real clear focus on where we should be concentrating our recruitment communications. The key values that people are looking for, they want to know about the stability of work. They want to hear people express pride in their work. They want to understand that there's a purpose to what they're doing, that it's actually contributing to something bigger. These are the views of the young people right now. They want to know they're helping others, that they're making a difference. This is the strongest message out of this generation that there's been for many, many years. And flexibility is now considered a complete given post-COVID. That's really important, and how that's managed and how that's encouraged. The sorts of things that young people say they're attracted by, definitely it's what is the work environment, what's the work culture, can I see it, can I get a sense of it? If I go on social media, do I see pictures, do I see any videos? Is there anything that gives me a sense of where I'll be working, and what's the whole vibe amongst the people there? What's your reputation as an employer? Have you won awards? Do you take pride in what you're achieving? And obviously, are you providing a good salary? And in some cases, that may mean going above, obviously, minimum wage and other benefits that you might be able to offer that would attract young people. But fundamentally, the big question that a lot of people said is we just don't know the way in. We don't know how to get into these careers. It's pretty easy in other sectors, IT or retail or hospitality or whatever. We understand the routes into those sectors, but nobody quite knows the way in. And I would say that's definitely the case for timber engineering. Where do you start? And this is where TVC can help us, and this is what also the TRA and its campaign can help with. So signposting to the best ways in. What are the entry requirements in order to get a job in this sector? How many jobs are there? What type of jobs? How do I progress? What might my career trajectory look like? And how do I get work experience? I thought this was really valuable information from the CITB, that if you're a business recruiting right now, you could look at that and you would know what sort of messages to put out through what sort of channels. And you'll be very familiar with what's being described as the Great Resignation. It's happening not just in the UK, it's happening all across the world in many, many different sectors. People re-examining what they want post-COVID, the lifestyle that they want, the sort of environment that they want to work in. And many, many people have been changing jobs or looking for new roles. And when looked at really closely by CITB, but also by groups like McKinsey and others who've really looked into this phenomenon, they discovered that people are saying, well, actually what really matters, I will stay with an employer, I'll be attracted to an employer if I really understand what they stand for and what their purpose is. I want to have that sense of purpose. Why are we doing this stuff? Why does it matter? What difference are we making to the world? How are we helping others? So my recommendation is, in your communication and in your recruitment, in your job ads, really talk about, the reason why we do this. This is how we're contributing to those challenges that are mentioned in that leaflet that I mentioned earlier. So the housing challenge, the sustainability challenge, better manufacturing, better quality of life for people. This is all the sorts of things that TRA members do have an impact on. So talk about your values, your vision. Talk about how it's really practical, interesting work, very varied, with lots of different types of challenges from developers and design challenges, for example. So opportunities to be creative and find solutions to problems. Talk about how the people are friendly, the jobs are local, right on your doorstep, and that you've got this commitment to a really positive and inclusive culture with good staff wellbeing, good health and safety, and a real commitment to making this a friendly place where there is none of the bad behaviours that you might otherwise have assumed construction would be about. It's really important that we actively talk about these things. We should show the pathways, so the routes through, to show the progression that's available. And I would say, if you have role models in your business, if you have young people who are doing a fabulous job, if you've got young apprentices who would be prepared to, if they want to be influencers on social media, if they'd be prepared to have a bit of time to put towards talking about their jobs and how much they love working in the sector and what they're doing and the interesting things they're doing, send them our way, because we can make use of these people. We can support them, we can give them training, we can use them as case studies, we can help get the message out there that careers in timber engineering just tick all of the boxes that young people say they want now, and everything since the Great Resignation, that sort of post-COVID environment, that we can demonstrate the sort of values that they're looking for. So please, if you have got role models or individuals in your business who you know would make a good little case study, please send them our way. And when I mean that, actually, I mean to me and to Sarah in the first instance. Sarah, wave up to everybody. I say Sarah's my colleague at TRA, at LMC. So if you wouldn't mind, there's my contact details. Please get in touch, or via Nick, and we can help tell this story of careers in timber engineering. We can target those communication channels that we were talking about earlier, and we can absolutely, get that message out there and support your recruitment campaigns. So I hope we can all work together on that. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Liz. That was a great presentation. The materials and the resources that we've developed are really useful for members, I think. They do cover the whole gambit. They talk about the environment and how designing in wood helps with the environment. They talk about the interesting and varied work and look at all the different design opportunities that there are. But more importantly, they look at, as Liz says, across all of the roles that we need within our businesses. So it's about everything in the round. Okay, so that's great. Has anybody got any questions for Liz or Sarah? Okay. Well, we'll have a final Q&A session at the end. So please pick up any questions there, or just put them in the Q&A as we go along, or email them over later. Any way you want. Okay, so moving on then to our third and fourth speakers. I'll hand the floor over to Richard and Jenny, but Richard to start us off, I think.
Sure, thanks, Nick. Good morning, everybody. Thanks for joining us. An exciting start to 2022, I hope. And I hope that myself and Jenny, you can view us as the new Phil and Holly after this performance. I hope that works out okay for everyone. So, yeah, we've done a lot of work over the last 2 or 3 years, developing things for the members. Lots of people have contributed to that. And we feel like we've done a really good job of developing the stuff that you need to attract people and train people and develop people. So that's really the focus of what we're going to talk about today. So I'll share my screen if I can. Screen 2. I'm hoping you can see my screen now. Yep, good. Thanks, Nick. So bear with me a second. I'm just trying to organise myself a little bit here. There we go. So we had 3 goals when we set out with this project. First one was to make the industry more aspirational, which Liz has spoken about just there. The key bits of that, as Nick and Liz have said, is about sustainability. It's a really interesting job. It's a massively interesting sort of part of the construction process that we're involved in, using technology to drive things forward. And of course, we're really all about trying to help the housing crisis. So we've got 3 big boxes to tick for anybody young coming into the industry. And Liz touched on that earlier. There's a fantastic support kit that Liz has put together. Please pick up on that. The second 2 targets are all around creating professional content. We're also creating that framework that Liz spoke to there, really about people seeing a progression, seeing a way to come in to an industry and a way of developing throughout their life cycle in our industry. So I'll talk a bit about that bit first. Some of you will have seen this before. It's quite a busy diagram, but when we think about how we're going to take people in. We're starting at ground level 0. We've got a TRA online fundamentals course that's been there for some time. That gives people a lot of base knowledge. As a system, both Mitek Wolf and Gangnail will give you software fundamentals. So we'll teach you the basis of the software to use. So that's our entry point there. And then as we work our way through, we see that we go through levels 1 through 7, but with an extra advanced level of online training from the TRA that's again already in place. And with this framework, we can see we move, if we look at course highlights, we're talking about basic considerations. We start really simple, but we want to give people a detailed look at the basic stuff, and then work our way through more complex situations, so that by the time we get to level 4, we're looking at advanced static and raised ties. And then we step into the TRA advanced online level, where we think about the engineering considerations. And then we really get into the nitty-gritty of advanced design, where we expect people to be quite experienced. We're looking at 2 to 4 years here to even attempt to get to these courses, where we start really building the deep knowledge. And this is, again, the pathway where we're not just talking about taking a kid out of school and throwing a piece of software in front of them. We're really developing their skills as designers and taking them all the way through until we get to level 7, which we hope to be, equivalent to sort of a degree type qualification. We haven't got that certified yet, but we're going to build the content, and we really hope that level 7 design thing there is something really aspirational for people and gives them a real good foothold. So that's the framework. Obviously quite a bit going on there. We'll touch on a few bits in a second. But the other part of our goal for this piece was to have an assessment and qualification piece. So when we think about the assessment method, we're relying on people inside your business to do the in-house assessment for levels 1 through 4. And then as we go through levels 5 onwards, we've got a TRA assessor involved. So when we get to the real deep knowledge, we're looking for third-party assessment to really validate what you're doing as individuals on the courses. It's on the job training, so we require output. So through each level, we require evidence workbooks to prove that the person doing the course has understood it. And again, that gets more and more detailed until we get to the point with level 7, where it's like a project dissertation, where we're talking in detail, about a particular project and all the complexities that brings. And initially, our qualifications will be around the TRA certification. So once the workbook's complete, they'll come to the TRA, and they will get assessed by the TRA, and you will get certification, which again, obviously we can use industry-wide to prove a person's competence. That's a really important part for us. Okay, so I mentioned there that we're looking for internal assessment people, experienced people in your business to sign off through the early parts of the process. But we're not just expecting you to know how to do that. Paul Flounders has been instrumental in writing this handbook, the TRA assessment guideline. It's a really good document, gives lots of great information, but we'll also be running webinars to show people how to put this into practice. So again, it's not just a piece of paper. We'll be running webinars to show how that works. I just want to pop out and just show you that briefly in Word document format. So here's the guidelines. I'm hoping everyone can just see that. It's a 20-page document, not to put people off, but there's lots of useful information here about what we expect of the trainees and what we expect of the assessors, and also how they should go about assessing things. And one of the key bits is checkpoints. So that when the trainee starts using the workbook, we have checkpoints throughout the process where the assessor and the trainee get together to sign off on various parts. That's really important. And then further down, for all the assessors out there who want to get involved, we have a really detailed look at what's involved in the courses and all the great knowledge we expect people to gain at the back end of this. So when I tell people I'm involved in roof truss design, they look at me pretty blankly, quite frankly, sometimes. But but there's an awful lot of knowledge and information and skill that go into being a designer. And it's really important that, you know, we value that and we give people the right level of knowledge and experience to deliver. So that's the assessment book. If we come back to the presentation here quickly. So the next step is the creation of professional training content. A big task, a big undertaking. Delighted with the progress so far. We've got some designer evidence books, which we'll show you briefly in a moment. As Nick said, this isn't just around designer skills. What we're trying to develop is holistic people that will benefit your business. So when we go and look at one of our designer information books, some of you might have seen some of these bits before, but we're really looking holistically. So we're looking, when you first get a bunch of drawings in, to think about commercial considerations. We're looking then pre-design, what information do we need, thinking about the structural elements, if you like. Then we think about design theory. And then post-design, we think about, okay, estimating and quoting, what we're going to do with that. How do we get things right on site? So we think holistically about the person, but also about the process. So it's, again, quite detailed for this particular workbook. You can see there's a lot of information we expect from people. What's really quite nice, though, is when we look at a particular section, we can use the hyperlinks in here, and that takes us to the information we need to fill out that. We can return to the question and then work through it. So we expect 5 of these workbooks per module. We'll be talking to Jenni in a moment about her experience of doing that. But really important piece of work that we've done this. And we also provide one of those that's completely finished and filled out. So it's like a guideline around a specific job to give people a view of what we'd expect to see in each section. So we're really pleased with progress there. If we move forward. So this is where we're at. The framework is complete. The assessor guideline is complete. Last year, we ran the level 1 with beta content, which is where Jenni came in and helped us out, amongst others, by the way, to help us with that. We got the beta feedback, we reacted to that, and we signed off on our level 1 completion. So with regard to the beta feedback, and touching on one of the things Liz mentioned, I was really pleased to see that 3 of the 5 trainees were actually women. So it was great to see young women coming into the industry, and thanks to DTE, ETS, National Timber Systems, Trust Form, and Crendon as well, who provided the mentors and students for this beta testing. I know some of you are on the call, so thanks very much for that. But it was really important for us that, you know, we road tested this and we got feedback and we acted on it. So thanks to them. You can all read, so I'm not going to read down that list, but basically we got some positive feedback, and that was really quite important to us. So I'm just going to stop sharing my screen now, and I'm going to chat to Jenni, hopefully, if I can work out how to do this. Sorry, where's my... Sorry, folks.
I found it right at the top of my screen.
Aha, there we go. Thanks. Yeah. I know you're an expert. So I will stop sharing somewhere. No, how do I stop sharing?
So right at the top of the screen, hopefully.
Liz, I'm there.
I'm there.
My apologies, folks.
Cool.
So, Jenni, we have some questions we're gonna talk to you about. Well, first of all, what were you doing before you came to the TRA apprenticeship, or before you came to ETS? What were you doing? What was your role?
So prior to ETS, I was a commercial ventilation designer. So similar in a technical respect, that I was doing technically engineered products, but it was in sheet metal rather than timber. But I had done an architectural design degree earlier on, and I really wanted to get into construction rather than ventilation, basically. But yeah, so the cards kind of fell in the right place where I was able to get an interview and be offered a job at ETS. So that was brilliant.
Great. Are you enjoying it?
Yeah, I'm loving it.
Brilliant. That's great. I think lots of people tend to find their way into our industry, via various routes, and I think yours is a fairly typical story. And hopefully, this piece of work will just make our industry seem a lot more attractive. So it's great you're here. Okay, when you think about the course, how much time did you allocate to each module? Was it, I don't know, was it 1 hour a week, 2 hours a week? Was it consistent? How did you feel that worked out for you?
In the beginning, it was quite difficult to kind of cherry pick the projects that would be suitable for the workbooks, because obviously for the first level we're talking about gable to gable construction, and finding projects that were suitable and not necessarily simple but easier to explain than others. But it was good that you could kind of look through it and see where you had to kind of think about things and what the TRA were looking for in respect to truss design, and where we'd need to look to kind of complete a decent, if you want, for want of a better word, truss design, and for it to be complete and eligible for this book, basically.
Yeah, sure. And part of the challenge is just finding the variation in topics as well
well, that's it, yeah,
to get that in for sure. So
yeah,
good. So in terms of the workbooks, how easy did you find them to use?
they're fairly straightforward, to be perfectly honest. As you kind of explained previously, it goes in trying to find the word. So you start at the beginning, basically. You start with your information, what you've received, and you go through that and see if that A would be viable, B is commercially viable, and see if you're able to do it in the time frame that the customer has specified. So all that kind of plays in to a big part of the job as a whole, but then obviously if we can complete the workbook or not, because later on in the workbook I noticed that obviously if it's commercially viable, we need to obviously make it an order and then follow it through to the latter stages, if you like.
That's great. Yeah. So I mean that's the plan, that you work through a specific workflow. The gathering information piece is something we're really keen on, so that we get the right information at the start, and then we understand the sort of base level of information we're looking for, and how that moves forward. So that's great. So in terms of the scenarios in the workbook so far, you've experienced those on a day-to-day basis? Is it something?
Yeah, pretty much. If not on a day-to-day, certainly on a week-to-week basis. Gable to gable, as we've probably covered, is the more standard roofscape type design that you get, but again, there's also different types of gable to gable, so there's always different variations to fill in the 5 workbooks that you would need for the level 1.
So, good. And obviously I just demonstrated there the links in the PDF document to go from the course structure into the notes. How did you find the notes? Were they enough detail in the notes? Did that give you a good insight?
More than enough detail. There was a couple of points where I wasn't necessarily sure of what was needed for a particular answer, so the notes definitely came in useful for that point. It just kind of clarifies whether you're thinking of something. It just clarifies what is needed for that particular section, and just lays it out in front of you, saying it's the same with the example workbook. That helped drastically as well. It just kind of lays out what you're expecting from us, and not necessarily from a detail point of view, because we can always add more detail or less detail, and it just kind of gives us an expectation of what you are requiring from us as trainee designers.
Great, yeah. So in terms of how you've worked with your assessor and mentor, and this way of learning, have you enjoyed the way of learning? How have you worked with your assessor and mentor? Can you talk a bit to that, please?
So my assessor, trainer, tutor, if you like, has been in the Trussed Rafter industry for at least 10 years, I'd say. And he has a vast amount of knowledge, and he's worked on several different large projects. And even with not necessarily Adam, my mentor, but everybody else in the ETS office has a vast amount of knowledge. So if Adam is unavailable for whatever reason, I'm easily able to go to another designer and ask for their opinion, or how would you do this, or if you were to do this a certain way, what kind of ramifications would it have on something else? So there's different avenues that you can kind of take, but having that one person that you can go to and just say, I'm a bit stuck, can you give us a hand with this for a minute, is really good, because it kind of gives you that one street where you can kind of say, right, you are my mentor, in effect. If you are able to help me, that would be absolutely brilliant. If you're not got enough time or whatever, I can go to somebody else. But having Adam as that one point of contact has been really, really helpful.
Brilliant, that's great. And clearly you were saying earlier that you're 18 months in now and you're actually being looked to for advice from a new starter in your business. So that's really nice. That's really good. So in terms then of the best thing about the course so far, what would you say?
It's with the course, and as well as being at ETS for nearly 18 months now, it's just the variation of it, because you don't get the same roof day by day. It's completely different, and I think that's what keeps it interesting, and it keeps your head in it, and it's the different details, the different technical aspects, the different details that the customer would need, the different details that ETS would have, say from trust form or whatever. It's completely and utterly changing every single day. So you haven't got the same thing. Yes, it might be a 9 to 5, but it's something different every day, which keeps it interesting. Brilliant. And I think the workbooks help focus in on the details rather than kind of getting lost in it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's great to hear, thanks. I know I spoke earlier about the holistic approach to this, and you talked a bit about the commercial aspect of it and making sure you can make it, design it, deliver it, and for the right cost and the right time. Can you talk us through any kind of things at the back end of the process, like site visits and things like that? Have you done many of those? Are they interesting?
Yeah, site visits, much like designs, are always different. So you could get up onto one site and it'd be at damp course level, so there's nothing really there for you to measure, and the customer's expectation versus your expectation of what you need to be there for you to do a decent measure versus their expectation of you doing a measure whilst it's a damp course is completely different in aspects. But then you've got some of the bigger companies that know exactly when and where you need to be in respects of their measures. And for the first level of the workbook, gable to gable is fairly straightforward in sense of measures and stuff. It's when you get into more complex ones like a matching through extension, or like I mentioned before, I had a measure last week, which was attics going into a raised tie. So obviously the measures are dependent on what the kind of design is. so yeah, every day on site is a different day.
That's great. Yeah, it's great. I think it's brilliant. You're getting that exposure to site as well. I think that's absolutely fantastic. You're getting that as well as the sort of in-office design element. So I think that's,
it's all experience at the end of the day, and it can be classed as a kind of a break away from the office. So it's all experience, but it's a different kind of experience. So you're getting physical, real life experience instead of looking at a computer screen and saying, well, this kind of needs to go there. Whereas where on site, you're actually looking at the building and you see, well, that kind of won't work where they're kind of posing that to go. But then you see it for yourself and you kind of understand it a bit better.
Brilliant. That's great. And last question, Jenni. Have you got any advice on for other trainees embarking on this program?
I would say just if you're interested in construction or buildings as a whole, I would just suggest to go for it, because it wasn't necessarily my kind of chosen path, if you like, but I am happy that I am here now. It is technically based, which I absolutely love. I love design. I love just trying to figure out stuff. And every day over the last 18 months or however long I've been at ETS now, it has been something completely different, and I've had to think about things, and it gives me a sense of accomplishment. And seeing something that I've designed on somebody's building is a really good feeling, basically. And I'm happy that I'm at ETS designing trusses and hopefully going on to design metal web joists in the future. And it gives me a sense of progression, and it's something for me to aim to. So this course has really helped bring that to the forefront. It's not a stagnant kind of level playing field. There is always progression going forward, and there's always more for you to learn. So that's really good in my opinion, to be perfectly honest.
Brilliant. Well, thanks very much for answering the questions there. Top job. Thank you very much. I'm just going to switch back to a boring old PowerPoint now. That was really interesting. Thanks, Jenni.
Thank you.
Go to this screen quickly and then do this. So this is where we currently got to. Level 1's complete. Levels 2 is now complete, and Jenni will be getting stuck into that soon. Level 3 content is pretty much done. We've got a few I's to dot and T's to cross. And I owe Nick some work on that one. Sorry, Nick, I'll get that to you very soon. And the level 4 content is planned, so we know what we're going to do, and we've got to get stuck into it as a team to deliver that. Right, timeline launches now. The assessor training is available. The fundamentals training is available. Level 1, level 2 available, and the online advanced course is available. But we probably don't want to push that too hard until we get level 3 and level 4 done. So again, the last couple of years have been really quite difficult for everyone. Lots of work's gone into this. We've slipped a little on timelines. I've put up on here now our kind of new estimated timelines. Being quite practical about it, we're building this stuff that's going to last us for 10, 15 years. So we don't want to rush it. We don't want to, make it lightweight. We want to put a lot of detail in it, which hopefully you've already seen. So we're hoping we'll be going live for level 3 in Q2. We're almost there with that. And then in Q4 for level 4. And after that point, we probably want to elicit a lot more feedback on how we shape 5 to 7. We've got some really good ideas. We've got a good plan, but I just want to sense check that with everyone in the industry and make sure we're doing the right things for level 5 to 7. So that's where we're going with that. So just seeing that on the roadmap, if you like, we've got fundamentals 1, 2 available now. That should take us into, the first year of someone's career, if you like. Level 3 and level 4 will be developed this year. So we're on timeline for that. The advanced online course is already there, and then as we get more experience and we really push hard to gain these difficult levels, 5, 6, and 7, we hope we'll be having that available by the end of 2023. That's kind of where we think we're at. So a lot of hard work's gone in. It's worth just saying some thank yous. Paul Flounders at Wolf's done a fantastic job working on this. Has led a lot of this. Culver in our team at Mitek's done a lot as well. And then from the fabricator base, it's been great to see Chris, who's Jenni's boss at ETS, has been with us from day one and done a great job. Dave at DTE, Keith over in Ireland at ATE, and Anthony quite recently at NTS has done some work as well. And then obviously Nicola Small, who was the star of our video content. She did a lot of work looking at the builder products in particular. And then obviously we had great support from Liz Mail associates or consultancies, right? And obviously Nick's been the rock on which we build this stuff. So thanks to Nick for that. So yeah, done a lot of hard work. There's more to come. If anybody wants to get involved and help us, we'd love to have you. It's a great team. Nick often buys us virtual pints of beer, which we have to drink in our own homes. But I'm sure we'll be getting together at some point this year, and it'd be really good to get more people on the team. But, that's where we're at. Cheers, Nick.
That's brilliant. Thank you very much indeed, Richard. That's an excellent presentation and a great way of laying out all the content that's available. And I think it's amazing when you see that presentation, how much work has gone into producing this material. So it's available. So there's enough of it available now to we feel have a formal launch. So going forward, I think it's giving members and TRA a really great resource for the future. Now, Richard, we had a question come in on the chat from Tim Wilson, and he's asking, what's your view about the way that metal web floor design is going to be introduced as part of this?
Yeah, it's a good shout. It's obviously a different skill set, but we feel got the structure in place now. We know how we lay it out. If Tim would love to join us, we can set up a separate subcommittee on metal web. I'm sure Tim's got lots of knowledge and experience he can share with us. This is, yeah, the basis of it is quite similar, but when we start thinking about floor vibration, deflections, and stuff like that, and some of the connections and things, it's a slightly different beast. There's no reason why we couldn't run that in parallel if we had enough manpower to do that. So really good question, really important part of our association. So if there's enough member interest, we could certainly revise our plan and deliver some things on metal web in front of maybe the levels 5, 6, and 7. It's a question of resource really, but absolutely part of our plan. Our idea was to build the whole structure for trusses first, but we could rethink that, and it's definitely an important part of what we do. So we'll take that suggestion on board and see where we can fit it in, and maybe something for the AGM, Nick, to ask the question of members.
Yeah, I think that's a very good place to actually be asking the question.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, okay. So have we got any more questions from our audience today? As I said, most of you have got access to your microphones. If not, just raise your hand and I'll free up your microphone. No problem at all. But if you've got any questions, just send them across.
And Nick, what's the process for sharing this recording and slides and things like that?
Okay. The plan is to post the presentations on the website. We'll look at the recording that we've made, and hopefully we should be able to post that probably as individual presentations on the YouTube channel, or potentially as one single YouTube. I guess we'll have a conversation after the meeting about exactly how to do that, Liz.
Okay, well, here to help. Yeah.
Okay then. Well, if we haven't got any more questions coming through, it just leaves me to thank all of our presenters for today. I said right at the beginning we've got 4 excellent speakers. Well, we certainly had 4 excellent speakers. So thank you very much to all of you. The content was great. And I think going forward, it gives members the opportunity to look for new recruits, to encourage them to join the timber engineering sector, because the materials that we've got we can offer, and once they get here, we now offer them a full set of training over the first part of their career. So I think that's a great opportunity for all members, and a great benefit of membership. So if you've got any questions, just email us later, or drop a message through to Liz or Sarah, and we can pick up any content in the future. So thank you very much to everyone today. Thank you very much to all the TRA members who have given their time today to come along and listen to what we've got to say. So look forward to seeing you soon. And as I said, we'll start posting the presentations as soon as we can after the meetings.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks very much. See you later, guys.
Thanks a lot.
Bye.